Hello everyone, it's Fred again from Notes of a Nomad. This is video number 90. Today I want to talk about one of my hobbies when I was young, which was photography. And remember when cameras had film in it and you had to process it? I used to work in a dark room, had the three chemicals, the developer, the stop bath, and the fixer, and then you washed and dried your photographs. And of course, the film as well was another thing. I had them hanging off of a line, this long strip of film that you got out of the camera because it was in a roll. Well, times have changed. So remember when that, and it was almost always in black and white. Color was a big, difficult processing, and I didn't do that at home. Not a lot of people did. You had to send it away. And most color pictures, when they first came out, with those little 35 millimeter slides, and then you'd have a projector and project the photographs on the wall. Wow, what a different time photography was when I was young. So I want to show you a few photos that I found when I was going through some of my things recently. And I'll share a few pictures and explain where they're from, and the fact that I still have them is quite remarkable. So the first picture is just from some Boy Scout. I obviously processed it because I could see the quality wasn't that good, but it was a big picture. So there were Boy Scouts, which I was in the 1950s to early 1960s. So that was obviously the older Boy Scouts, probably Rover Scouts, in fact, most likely. And the next picture is of Ken, the fellow who owns the boat that we showed you, the Sea Holly. This was when he was inducted into our Rover crew, and we went and bought him a garbage burger from White Spot Restaurant. It cost $1.50. It was a lot of money when a normal hamburger is anywhere from 20 to 30 cents. And on there it was almost impossible to open your mouth and eat it because it was everything on the menu. Bacon, eggs, of course, the burger, sausages. They just put everything on there. It was an enormous burger for $1.50. And we inducted him into our Rover Scout crew, and that was probably around 1960, I guess. And one of the things he had to do was eat a garbage burger, which was a bit of a challenge. And I traveled around with a box and a case about this size of film with camera, a couple cameras in it in 1962 when Ken and I started traveling together. This was in New York, in Greenwich Village. And there is a sign up here, Miriam Makeba, who was a famous South African singer, was at the Village Gate, which is one of the famous places where people used to perform, and this 1960s Bohemia. In fact, Bob Dylan lived for quite a while in Greenwich Village in New York. And this was in 1962, that photograph. There's another one from the third side. It says a coffee showcase for village talent. Again, for Greenwich Village talent, live music, no cover charge. Black and white, 1962. And another sign advertising Theodore, genius of the sinister, sorry. Theodore begins where Charles Adams stopped, and the times of that show. Also, just a picture of the street, one of the streets in Greenwich Village with all the cars. You could see they're a little bit old. Obviously, they had to be older than 1962, which is when I took this picture. And a bookstore slash movie, new and used bookstore, also in Greenwich Village. And not a clear photograph. Again, not always easy to process this, and you used to have to judge what the aperture was and the time, and take pictures at night. Wasn't easy with the speed of the film that I was using. That was steam coming out of some of the steam vents in New York City, and again in 1962. And this is the first time I ever made any money in my photography. The only time I took this picture of this sculptor doing a bust of this lady in New York. We ended up traveling back to Vancouver. I processed the pictures and we came back to New York and again in 1962, and I sold these pictures for $10. The only time anybody paid me for my photography for some of the pictures that I had made of this sculpture. So that's my only time I made money out of my photography, my hobby. Here's a few more pictures. This was the spires of the Mormon Tabernacle in Salt Lake City, and some sculptures in, I think it was Geneva, where there was a famous sculptor who looked after Ken and I, gave us some place to stay and some food in a restaurant. And he happened, it was near Christmas in 1962, and those are photographs of some of his sculptures. Also, a covered bridge. I think that might have been Lucerne in Switzerland. And then I traveled on my own. Ken and I split up. I went to Morocco. This was a mosque in Morocco. Some of the walled city in, I'm not sure if that was Fez, but one of the cities, I think it might have been Fez. And also a camel market. And that's the last picture that I had. I then traveled for many months carrying my camera, but I don't have any pictures that I processed. And again, I processed these with the 3 chemicals somewhere probably in South Africa after a long time after having taken these pictures. So thought I would share some of the items that I had, old pictures that I found from around the 1960s, early 1960s, and said, well, remember when taking picture with film camera? Now everybody does it with their smartphones. Photography has changed a lot since then. But maybe my ancestors might say, oh, gee, that was interesting, how they used to take pictures before we could do it digitally. So with that, I'll say au revoir, adios, wishing you, your family and friends lots of love and laughter. Bye for now, from Fred and Notes of a Nomad. Until next time.